The purge that is happening at the FDA and the CDC is not good. As I sit here and take in all of the news from every direction, all I see is deceivers, liars, corporate media, cover-ups, agenda, all pushing the same propaganda. It's time for a game changer, a visionary, an innovative person who changes the way that people think of the situations. It's time for Game Changer TV, telling it like it is. Get in the game. Widespread firings start at federal health agencies, including many in leadership. Do you think this is going to be good? About 10,000 people are about to lose their job. Thank you for tuning in to Game Changer TV. I'm your host, Terri Lynn, and this is the channel where every day we're telling it like it is. Today is March 3rd, 2025. And have y'all heard about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. purging the FDA and the CDC? And I can hear some conservatives clapping about this. Yay, yay, they need to go. They need to go. Everything they did to Americans, they need to go. But is this really a good thing, or is this going to further their cover up and what comes next? This is not good. Let's get into this. From yesterday, CNN Health, it's a bloodbath. Massive wave of job cuts underway at U.S. health agencies. It's a bloodbath. One U.S. FDA employee said, "These cuts to agency experts and programs leave our country less safe, less prepared, and without necessary talent and resources to respond to health threats." Oh, it's much worse than that. From Rolling Stone, inside Trump and RFK Jr.'s health agency bloodbath, current and former staffers say that after thousands of people were laid off, the future of agencies like the CDC and the FDA are uncertain. From CBS News, y'all, this is going to get good. This is going to blow your mind. We're showing the background and where this is going. RFK Jr. purges the CDC and the FDA's public records team. Despite transparency promises, y'all, this is not going to be good. Teams handling the Freedom of Information Act request at the CDC and the FDA were gutted on Tuesday. The process of filing Freedom of Information requests from reporters, advocacy groups, and others is a critical way for public gains access to information on government data and records. All of the workers in the CDC's Freedom of Information office were cut. 2/3 of the FDA's records request staff was cut, down to 50 remaining. Most still here don't do Freedom of Information Act processing. There's about to be a mass cover-up. And what are they going to cover up from the past? And what are they about to cover up that they're about to bring out? Y'all, this is going to get good. All the people that we would write a letter to requesting information for vaccine damage or pandemic information, there will be nobody to answer those questions or release that information. And MAGA supporters thinks this is good. What is about to happen? Decimation of Health and Human Services Communications, Freedom of Information Act offices will leave Americans in the dark about urgent health matters. Public health communication and government accountability are imperiled. From Reuters 3 years ago, wait, what? FDA wants 55 years to process Freedom of Information requests over vaccine data? Freedom of Information Act requests are rarely speedy, but when a group of scientists asked the federal government to share the data it relied upon in licensing Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, the response went beyond typical bureaucratic foot dragging, as in 55 years beyond. That's how long the FDA in court papers this week proposes it should be given to review and release the trove of vaccine-related documents responsive to the request. If a federal judge in Texas agrees, plaintiffs, public health, and medical professionals for transparency can expect to see the full record in 2076. Freedom of FDA asked for 55 years to complete Freedom of Information request on Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. The next year, a judge ruled that FDA cannot have until 2076 to disclose Pfizer biotech vaccine data. Now, I haven't seen all the information, but this judge says Judge Mark Pittman found that the Freedom of Information Act filed by PHMPT is paramount for public importance and demands that the FDA make the data publicly available within 8 months. I'm sure the least damaging parts have been made available. And now, here we are. They're going to shut down the whole agency that responds to Freedom of Information Act request. We will never know the depths of everything that has happened and what was done to the American people because it's all about to be dismantled. And this is the kind of information that will be withheld. This is from 2013. Freedom of Information Act documents. This is the kind of information that's going to get swept under the rug. 2013 exposes. Freedom of Information Act documents obtained by Judicial Watch reveal 200 claims filed with HHS for HPV vaccine injuries and deaths, 49 compensated. Documents reveal that the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program has paid out nearly $6 million in claims to victims of the controversial HPV vaccine, including families of 2 dead. The documents came in response to a February 28, 2013 Judicial Watch lawsuit against the Health and Human Services Department to force the department to comply with the November 1st, 2012 Judicial Watch Freedom of Information Act request. So, with them dismantling the whole communications division for the CDC and the FDA, we will never get the full scope of the damages done to the American public. And people think Trump and RFK are doing great things. This is terrible. This is from February 15, 2024. FDA Director Peter Marks admits expediting approval of the Pfizer COVID vaccine potentially to meet mandate deadlines. Y'all, this is all a huge cover-up. This is going to be a cover-up. They are going to sweep all the injuries, all the deaths, all of the shenanigans that they did to get it on market and in people's arms, all the non-approved for emergency use only, for the cover-ups. We're never going to get the full scope of it. They're taking away the people that will be able to reveal it to the American people. From 2023, y'all remember, FDA approves emergency use of experimental vaccines. Is it time to stockpile critical medications before the government restricts them again? This week, this is in the past. This week, we got news that many of us expected, but we feared nonetheless. The FDA has granted emergency use authorization to another round of experimental COVID-19 vaccines, just as we got the news that the COVID infections were on the rise. And we were never told what were in these vaccines. Y'all remember this?
Perfectly on top is this perfectly normal package insert. efficacy data. In fact, all of the normal information that we would find in a package insert, like the ingredients, that would all be found right here in this package insert. Must be magic. It's all blank. The whole thing. Except for this part. That's the only thing not blank. Are you kidding me?
So now.
And they are eliminating the departments that will be able to divulge all of this. Vaccine injured pharmacist breaks down into tears testifying before Ohio State Senate. I'm not going to play all this. He's having difficulty talking, but I want you to hear it.
Thank you for hearing my support testimony for HB 319. I wish to have the Lord allow me to impact souls with my words. I was a father, a husband, a pharmacist, and healthy person prior to being coerced into receiving the COVID vaccine. I understood that attending my daughter's volleyball game would require the vaccine. As a doctor of pharmacy, I had negative opinions about COVID prevention. I would never have taken the vaccine voluntarily. My last healthy memories involve enjoying Christmas time with my family. The next memory I have is awakening in the ICU at Ohio State University, completely paralyzed and unable to speak or even close my mouth due to the ventilator. Communication involved a cut laser which was taped to a hat and an alphabet board. My family informed me that I had tested positive that Christmas for COVID. Impossible, as I had been mandated to take the very safe and also effective vaccine. COVID was only found in my spinal fluid. My diagnosis was COVID and long COVID. At that time, institutions were given federal kickback, and worse, they were given immunity, complete immunity from any harm that arose from COVID treatments. More money was given if I was to die. These kickbacks led to a deficiency in care. Due to COVID policies, my family could not visit. This led to a pressure wound which reached all the way to my spine. Although it's easily preventable with frequent turning, my presentation of symptoms is very common with vaccination injuries.
And in the United States, about 81% of the population has received at least one dose of these vaccines. 8 out of 10 people took this vaccine. And now they're cutting the department that will be able to reveal how many people have been injured by this, what was in the vaccine. They're going to cover it all up. What's going to happen after all of this is covered up and eliminated, and in the future, you can't get any information. Y'all, this is going to get good. Let's keep going. Woman dies suddenly inside pharmacy 15 minutes after getting a booster shot. November 23rd, 2023, 2 high-level FDA officials who approved Moderna's COVID-19, quote, vaccine are now working for Moderna. Does that seem like a conflict of interest? Did they know? Did they know, hey, you pass this vaccine for us. You get it out into the public. Moderna says, hey, FDA, you get it out in public for us. And then you can come work for us and we'll give you a nice cushy job. They are now working for Moderna to develop new mRNA jabs. From 2022, Ghost Shot. Pfizer quietly admits it will never manufacture the original FDA-approved COVID vaccines. Okay? So they played a bait and switch. They got emergency use approval for their vaccine and did not even release the one that they submitted for approval. November 24, 2022, top virologist and member of FDA panel who voted for COVID vaccine emergency approval dies suddenly. FDA approved controversial lab-grown meat becomes a reality. Now we're going to start looking at some of the other things that the FDA has approved. They approved vaccines that never even made it to the market, that got forced onto people. Then injury, people dying, the cover up, 81% of Americans taking this. And they've approved controversial lab-grown meat. The same FDA that RFK Jr. just dissolved the Freedom of Information Department. We won't even know what this lab-grown meat is going to start doing to people. November 17, 2022, FDA approves bizarre lab-grown meat for human consumption. April 28, 2023, FDA approves first pill made from human poop. What are they going to be giving to people, y'all? The FDA, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has now dissolved the ability to find out what they're doing to us. That FDA has approved the first pill made from human poop. This is from Live Science, livescience.com. The FDA administration approved the second ever medical treatment made from donated human feces. Go type in FDA approves first pill containing human feces. Okay. December 29th, 2024, FDA, that's now been dissolved, that would report any injuries, pushes RSV vaccine for kids despite halted Moderna trials. May 21st, 2023, FDA advisors back maternal RSV vaccine as Pfizer says safety concerns can be studied post-approval. From this year, February 11, 2025, FDA lab uncovers excess DNA contamination in COVID-19 vaccines. An explosive new study conducted within the US FDA's own laboratory has revealed excessively high levels of DNA contamination in Pfizer's mRNA COVID-19 vaccines. From December 14, 2021, New York Times casually admits new FDA-approved Merrick COVID drug might actually mutate healthy human DNA by accident and impact male fertility. In normal times, a normal world, this news might make headlines, but in 2020, during the big pharma bonanza pandemic, it's stuffed at the bottom of the New York Times article. August 17, 2022, COVID vaccine trials document birth defects, lost pregnancies, Freedom of Information requests reveal. Now, what's going to happen when we can't get this information? More than a year and a half after Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccines received U.S. emergency use authorization, the public is learning about negative clinical trial results related to pregnancy from Freedom of Information Act request. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is cutting the department that we would get any future information on injuries from. Says for the most types of Freedom of Information Act requests, there is no staff. From December 23rd, 2021, Freedom of Information Act requests, Freedom of Information Act's documents reveal Pfizer's shot caused avalanche of miscarriages and stillborn babies. But you won't be hearing the truth anymore. December 27, 2023, new Freedom of Information Act data reveal New York vaccine clinics called ambulances to be on standby. Recent Freedom of Information obtained data from the Department of Emergency Services in Westchester, New York, revealing shocking number of vaccine emergency calls as well as requests for ambulances to be on standby. They knew people were getting injured. They knew people were being affected. And now the ability to get to the truth is going to be totally taken out of our reach. It's going to go into file 13. It's going to go into the unexisting memory banks. People in the future are never going to know about this information because they are dissolving the department that would have conveyed all the information to future generations what actually happened during this quote pandemic. Oh, this is about to get wild. Okay. August 4th, 2023. Shocking Freedom of Information Act results $11 million to bribe OBGYNs to lie to moms about the safety of the mRNA vaccines. And that only came out by Freedom of Information Act request. Dr. Naomi Wolf interviews Dr. James Thorpe. Dr. Thorpe reveals the Freedom of Information Act results that $11 million to bribe OBGYNs to lie to moms about their often abortive recipient mRNA injections. From yesterday, after Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s radical transparency pledge, Health and Human Services shutters most of its communications, Freedom of Information Act operations. Workers say layoffs said to be aimed at improving efficiency will impair public access to critical health information. And here we go. Y'all remember. FDA approved Neuralink. FDA finally approved Elon Musk's Neuralink for human implants. Elon Musk's Neuralink wins FDA approval. How Elon Musk's Neuralink brain chip got approved? Oh, we know how. He threw money over that way. FDA staff reviewing Neuralink were included FDA staff reviewing Elon Musk's Neuralink were included in DOGE employee firings. So, yes, the FDA does oversee Neuralink, and specifically FDA employees in the Office of Neurological and Physical Medicine Devices who review clinical trial applications were recently fired as part of the broader purge within the agency. So the people that oversee what Elon Musk is about to do to the public have all been fired. And the Freedom of Information Act division has been totally eliminated. Do y'all see that this is about to be a problem? There will be no oversight over Elon. From the Department of Biomedical Engineering, School of Engineering and Applied Science from May 26, 2023, Dr. Krathmeyer questions the FDA decision to approve human trials for Neuralink. So you got doctors questioning why the FDA approved these implants for human beings, and the staff that would be overseeing what Neuralink does to humans in our population, they were all fired. And the agency in the FDA and in the CDC, the people that we would get information from, the Freedom of Information Department is gone. So any side effects, any unethical procedures, anything diabolical, you're not going to be able to know about it. Think about this. And flashback what's coming out now with the COVID vaccines that 8 out of 10 people got. Study of 9 million people confirms COVID vaccines cause AIDS. An alarming study of 9 million people has confirmed that COVID mRNA injections cause vaccine-induced AIDS, known as VADS. The bombshell study has sent shockwaves through the medical and scientific communities after researchers concluded that COVID mRNA shots have caused a global surge in cases of vaccine-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. And y'all remember? Dr. Zelenko at the very beginning was warning that it was going to cause AIDS. And what happened to him? He died. Dr. Zelenko on endless boosters and warnings about vaccine-induced AIDS. Dr. Boutour was warning about it. And what happened to him? He came up dead. March 26, 2022, the Pfizer-Gate scandal. Governments worldwide are hiding data to disguise the fact that COVID-19 vaccines damage the immune system and cause AIDS. What did we just read? Governments worldwide are hiding data. What better way to hide data than eliminate the department that would report on the injury? The Washington Standard, March 23rd, 2022. Frontline doctor, millions will get AIDS from COVID shot by the fall. July 4th, 2022. COVID-19 vaccine causes AIDS. Here's all the evidence. AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, is the name used to describe a number of potentially life-threatening infections and illnesses that happen when your immune system has been severely damaged. People with acquired immune deficiency, AIDS, are at an increased risk for developing certain cancers. And are we seeing an increase in cancers? And for infections that usually occur only in individuals with a weak immune system. And Brazil's president, Bolsonaro, was investigated when he spoke out and said the president of Brazil was investigated because he said the vaccine caused AIDS. A justice of Brazil's top court ordered on Friday that President Jair Bolsonaro be investigated for comments linking COVID-19 vaccines to AIDS, an assertion rejected by doctors and scientists. Bolsonaro said in October 24th broadcast that the official reports from the UK government suggest that fully vaccinated people are developing acquired immune deficiency syndrome much faster than anticipated. And that was the word that got me. Faster than anticipated. That means they knew at the beginning that it would eventually cause AIDS. And he said that they are developing AIDS faster than anticipated. He remains unvaccinated. From Africa News, May 17, 2021, South Africa rejects Russia's Sputnik vaccine over HIV fears. South Africa's health products regulator on Monday said it would not approve Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine due to concerns it could increase the risk of HIV infection among men. So there were government leaders saying that this vaccine was going to cause AIDS, and governments forcing the people to take it, and our government mandating it, saying you wouldn't be able to go to school, saying you couldn't go to college, you couldn't go to work. They tried enticing you with french fries and hamburgers and free Krispy Kreme donuts. They made grown human beings wear pool noodles on their heads to enforce social distancing, and they all knew from the beginning that it was going to be injurious to people. And now here we are, they are eliminating the agency that would fully disclose what was going to happen to people. And the sheeple, the foolish, the asleep people are clapping that RFK Jr. is purging these agencies, not realizing what this means.
This looks awfully complex, doesn't it? And if it does, that's good, because every one of these red arrows shows HIV in the spike protein. This work comes from Luc Montagnier. Dr. Montagnier is the premier virologist in Paris, France. Dr. Montagnier got the Nobel Prize for identifying HIV. So if there's anybody on planet Earth who ought to be able to tell you that HIV exists in this spike protein, that's the man. And oh, look, where he used to be professor and chair at, that's been deleted from the internet as well. That's the same place that Zhang Li presented and now got wiped off the face of the internet and off the face of the planet. Dr. Montagnier identified 18 RNA fragments that match HIV and SIV. This is simian, or monkey, grade A immune deficiency virus.
And this clip is 36 minutes long. I'm not going to show it. It just says, listen to when it's going to show up. This is from a few years ago. Listen to when it will show up.
15 or 16 times intraoperatively with the needle, because as I was getting handed the scalp, the hemostats with the suture or the suture drivers, or I was handing to somebody else or whatever during the operation. And again, these aren't controlled environments. This is, a trauma environment. So it's messy, et cetera, et cetera. We would get stuck, and we actually had HIV tests done every 60 days. The surgery residents did, in order to make sure that we hadn't become HIV positive. And with the number of times I've been stuck with needles that were contaminated, I always thought to myself, why didn't I get HIV? Because it's probably been, I think they say it's a 2-year window after your last exposure. And these are needles.
2 years window after you've been exposed to AIDS. Are we about to see a massive explosion in AIDS cases? Confidential, this is from December 30th, 2022. Confidential Pfizer and government documents confirm ADE, VAD, and AIDS due to COVID-19 vaccination have led to millions dying suddenly and still counting. Confidential documents reveal that within months of receiving the initial doses of COVID-19 vaccines, some individuals are developing antibody-dependent enhancement and vaccine-associated enhanced diseases. As if this weren't alarming enough, official documents also prove that a mysterious form of AIDS is also appearing in a disturbing number of recipients just 5 months after their initial injections. July 21st, 2023, COVID CDC, who their Freedom of Information just got axed, CDC COVID shots cause 338 times increase in cancers and AIDS. And RFK Jr. just eliminated the CDC's Freedom of Information Act. So when these new vaccines come out, we're not going to know how much damage is being done to the American people. And people think that he is for us. Why would you eliminate the Freedom of Information departments over health if there was not going to be a cover-up? April 3rd, 2025. This was from today. mRNA vaccines linked to genetic changes that can cause cancer and autoimmune disorders. So are they eliminating the Freedom of Information Act department because a huge spike in AIDS is about to happen? A new peer-reviewed study linked mRNA COVID-19 vaccines to long-term changes in genetic structures that can provoke an inflammatory response and lead to an onset of cancer and autoimmune disorders. The study by 19 German scientists was published last week in Molecular Systems Biology. The researchers said their findings may account for post-vaccination inflammatory diseases which occur in a small number of vaccinated individuals. Journalist Alex Berenson said the study shows that mRNA vaccines can alter human chromosomes in ways linked to leukemia and brain tumors. This occurs when the mRNA vaccines train immune cells to sustain a pro-inflammatory immune response.
Suffering from mRNA vaccine injury. As if that's bad enough, it's worse than that. These people are suffering from what's called vaccine-induced AIDS. It's called VAIDS. This is from Slay News. Leading scientists from the world-renowned Yale University have confirmed that COVID mRNA vaccines cause vaccine-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, VAIDS. A bombshell study conducted by researchers at Yale University School of Medicine found that mRNA injections alter human biology to create long-term spike protein production that increases over time. The scientists warned that the COVID mRNA vaccines alter T-cell immunophenotypes, which triggers VAIDS. The study was led by Bornali Bhattacharya. So not only were we collectively forced to take an experimental vaccine or risk losing our jobs, we were lied to about it. It didn't stop you from contracting or transmitting the virus. It wasn't safe. It caused heart issues, blood clots, autoimmune disorders. We were censored when we questioned the madness. And now we find out that the mRNA jab causes VAIDS in many people. This is one of the most egregious scandals in American history. Kash Patel's first order of business at the FBI should be throwing in prison every single person involved in this crime against humanity.
January 10th, 2023. COVID jab-induced AIDS. Sickness and death will increase. As mRNA-damaged immune systems succumb to every new disease. From December 22nd, 2021, from CNET. Pfizer COVID pill now authorized by FDA. It won't cure Omicron, but here's what it does. The FDA has authorized the first oral antiviral to treat COVID-19. Pfizer's Paxlovid shows promise for reducing both hospitalization and death. From about 6 months ago, FDA advances Bill Gates' replicon mRNA bird flu vaccine. We've got all kinds of vaccines that have been approved, that are coming down the pike, and we're not going to have anybody to keep score on the damages done to it, done to people, done by it. And if they don't have oversight, they're going to start rolling out all kind of crazy stuff on people. And this being the worst. Now, y'all get y'all's notebook down. We've talked about this before, but I need y'all to write Permavir. Okay? Permavir is marketed as Rapivad, and it is approved FDA intravenous antiviral medication for treatment of acute uncomplicated influenza. And it's also going to be used for bird flu. BioCryst Pharmaceuticals owns or manufactures Permavir. An antiviral drug used to treat influenza A and B. The brand name for Permavir is Rapivac. Permavir is a neuraminidase inhibitor that prevents new viruses from forming in infected cells. It's the only FDA approved anti influenza drug that can be given intravenously. This makes it a good option for patients who can't tolerate oral medications. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services supported the development of Permavir as part of its effort to prepare for the flu pandemic. Permavir Rapivac is an FDA approved, with no oversight now, antiviral drug that can treat bird flu. February 3rd, 2021, BioCryst announces FDA approval for supplemental new drug application Rapivac, expanding patient population to include children 6 months and older. Y'all please write this down. Permavir Rapivac approved for children 6 months old and older. This is going to become very important. BioCryst Pharmaceuticals today announced that the U.S. FDA has approved a new supplemental new drug application for Rapivac Permavir injections, expanding the patient population of Rapivac for the treatment of acute uncomplicated influenza to include patients 6 months and older. Now, here's where your mind's going to get blown. No, March 29th, 2023, from Mike Adams Natural News. The drug being readied for avian flu pandemic causes side effects that include believing false narratives, making it perfect for social control. Y'all, we know our government has used drugs in MK Ultra to mind control people. Now wait till y'all hear this. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield recently warned that gain-of-function research and bioterrorism will inevitably bring about a future of avian flu pandemic. The U.S. government is already mapping out a suspicious new bird flu strain that is passing from wild birds to mammals, causing strange behaviors. Strangely enough, a blockbuster drug is already being readied to treat this upcoming avian flu. This drug is called Permavir and goes by the trade name Rapivac, that has now been approved for children 6 months and older. The drug company behind the treatment, BioCryst Pharmaceuticals, has already prepared a list of common side effects for their blockbuster drug. These side effects include holding false beliefs that cannot be changed by fact. Now imagine the government mandating you taking this vaccine to fight bird flu, the government forcing you to take a pill that will alter your mind so much that you will believe a lie. The side effects include holding false beliefs that cannot be changed by fact, and seeing, hearing, or feeling things that are not there. That's what they call schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia. Seeing, hearing, and feeling things that are not there. Are they going to start rolling out mental medications when you start taking their drugs that make you believe that things that are not true? Now, so let's go look this up. Let's go to the Mayo Clinic and see if Mike Adams is telling the truth. Rapivac, Permavir injections used to treat acute uncomplicated influenza patients. Let's go see the side effects. This is from Mayo Clinic. Let me go up so you can see the search bar. mayoclinic.org. Let's see some side effects. Holding false beliefs that cannot be changed by fact. This is from the Mayo Clinic. A drug that has been approved to give to children 6 months old, and their parents, and their cousins, and their mamas, and their papas. The government wants to give people a drug that will cause them to believe things that are not true, and your mind cannot even come back from believing the lies. And it's FDA approved. But now the FDA Freedom of Information Act department has been totally eliminated. You will believe the lie if you take this. Do not take this. This is from FDA.gov. Nanotechnology research. The FDA has already reviewed and approved many nanotechnology-based products and expects a significant increase in the use of nanoscale materials in medical products. This PDF is from Tech Webinar. The Internet of Bodies is here. Are courts and regulators ready? A network of smart devices, and FDA's approved nanotechnology in humans, a network of smart devices attached to or implanted in bodies raises a host of legal and policy questions. The FDA regulatory issues. The FDA is responsible for ensuring that medical implants are safe, but the FDA deemed healthy lifestyle Internet of Bodies, such as fitness trackers, to generally fall outside the agency's purview. So under the FDA's current approach, some Internet of Body devices won't necessarily have to meet more stringent safety standards to say. FDA, which said it approved in an email, it doesn't comment on how it might regulate hypothetical devices. Now, in 2004, the FDA approved human RFID implants. In 2004, the FDA approved VeriChip, an implantable radio frequency identification device to facilitate medical record access, allowing doctors to quickly access patient information. And we've talked about that RXP, Ripple RXP, the digital currency, they have an implantable RFID chip for payment. And implantable chips have already been approved by the FDA. This is RFID implantable PDF. UIC John Marshall Journal of Information Technology and Privacy Law, 2016. RFID implementation, testing in prisons and parolees for the greater good. Testing, implanting prisoners who can't get out, and conditions of parole, implementing RFID implementation for the greater good. FDA approves computer chip for humans. FDA approves computer chip for humans. RFID implementation, testing in prisons and parolees for the greater good. Technology is taking over the world many steps at a time. Technological advancements are occurring every day, with much of it going unnoticed by the average individual. One technology in particular, without notice of the average individual, one technology in particular, radio frequency identification, has replaced the barcode system because of many positive qualities, including easy tracking capabilities. The retail end is not the only place in which RFID can have a positive impact. Some prisons have attempted to use RFID in order to track their inmates and staff. Along with prisons, the military has been using RFID to track system shipments and personnel. Imagine a society where every prisoner is tagged with an RFID tag. Inmates could be less inclined to attempt an escape, and even if they do escape, RFID tracking would be able to notify law enforcement to apprehend escaping inmates. Now, y'all imagine, we will all be inmates in an open air prison system and no oversight. Use of AI and embedded technology in human identity chips for the Internet of Medical Things. And I typed in FDA in this. FDA approves implantable chip to access medical records. Radio frequency technology has been crucial in the health sector for the last decade. FDA approved implantable chips in 2004. Are y'all ready? I think she says a cuss word. I think so. Graphene oxide, Chinese patent exposed. Now, y'all remember at the beginning when we showed the pharmacist that showed the insert to the jabs was left blank? Listen to this.
Does anyone else feel like the veil is not just being lifted right now? It is being ripped off all of our eyes. I never trusted anyone anyway, but look what I just found. I could have sworn they told us that the jab did not contain graphene oxide, but what the hell is this Chinese patent? Unless I need glasses, which I know I don't. This says the new CV jab, I'm yelling. I am yelling. Yes, I'm yelling. Contains graphene oxide. Unless there's some crust in my eyes in which I am not seeing this right. There you have it, folks. And here you also have it. You know what? You might not belong here, okay? You might not belong here. For those of you that do, microwave radio frequencies, 5G 16, graphene nanomaterials, technologies used in neurological warfare. They can't hide this shit from us. They can't. It's like part of the universal law. It has to be in plain sight. We see the towers going up. We are getting these jabs, which clearly they are telling us what's in them. All we're focused on is the news, the media, all that fake shit. Wake up. Does that?
Recent advancements in graphene-based implantable electrodes for neural recording and stimulation. Furthermore, by incorporating wireless communication protocols into the sensory unit, data can be efficiently transmitted to monitoring units for further processing. This integration could include using radio frequency identification tags. So graphene and RFID chips will be working together. FDA has approved implantable nanotechnology in people from July 1st, 2022. Bombshell. Recent conference uncovered between government elites, the FBI, the DOGE, CISA, and EAC, and liberal groups, ERIC, CTCL, and election groups, and corporations like Microsoft. What's going on? Freedom of Information Act requests have uncovered oddball and OPEC relationships between some state election officials, federal officials, corporations, progressive activists, and those trying to influence the conduct of those same elected election officials. And how did all this come out? The Freedom of Information Act. And we know that Microsoft and Coca-Cola have just teamed up. That's got nanotechnology in the Cokes now. And all this is coming out through Freedom of Information Act request. And if we have no access to Freedom of Information Act request, what are they going to be able to do? Talk about pull the wool over people's eyes. And the chips have been approved. They are about to start speeding up implants without oversight. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is remaining quiet on the 10,000 people that have lost their jobs that would be able to snitch and tell us what is really going on. All the technologies in place for transhumanism. Transhumanism is merging man and machine. All the technology is there. And the oversight for them to do it is not going to be there. Any kind of recourse, any trying to find out the truth of what's going on or what it's doing, it's not going to be there. And all the damage that has been done from COVID injury, we're never going to know the full extent because it's all being covered up. So for the people all excited about Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy purging the FDA and the CDC, it is not for your good. And I pray that the eyes of your understanding would be enlightened for y'all to see what is about to come down on humanity. Keep your eyes on Jesus. I love y'all. Thank you for watching. If you are learning anything from the content that I bring on this channel, if I'm feeding your spirit, would you prayerfully consider supporting the channel, even with a one-time donation? Thank y'all for watching. Bye-bye.